This is my brand new Suzuki RM250 from 2006. And this is about to be the most expensive kickstart of my life. At the start of the summer, I bought my dream bike, the never been used 2006 RM250 that you see behind me. It was the biggest two-wheel investment that I'd ever made. But ever since I was a small kid and I saw my dad riding a yellow 250, I wanted one of these bikes. So to stumble across an example like this, brand new, unused, was a stroke of luck bestowed upon me by the moto gods. However, I found myself in a tough spot. I had a difficult decision to make: to ride or not to ride. Like I said, I've always dreamed of owning and riding a fresh RM250. And it would be so cool to watch my friend Sean race this bike at Farleigh Castle. But starting this bike and turning a wheel on track would devalue this machine in an instant. I was torn between my head and my heart. So I asked you guys for some help, and all-out chaos commenced. So here's the deal, guys. If you want to see Sean race this machine at Farleigh Castle, vote in the comments down below and let your voices be heard. We've never had so many comments, thoughts, opinions, and demands. To be honest, I thought every single one of you guys would be as desperate as me to see this thing in action. But I was wrong. Apparently there's a good chunk of you guys that want to look after my wallet and preserve a slice of motocross history. A lot of people asked us to keep this bike as it is. In fact, I know exactly how many people asked for it. I spent a lot of time tallying up the votes from the first video. Option 1 was to keep it as it is, and option 2 was to go out and ride it. And option 1 took the victory in a landslide. I was shocked, and to be honest, a little disappointed. This bike is just begging to be ridden, and I was giddy at the thought of turning a wheel on my dream bike. But alas, the people have spoken. So, the decision has been made to completely ignore the results of the vote. To everyone that voted for option 1 and begged us to keep this machine pristine, I really do hope you can forgive me. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I just cannot refuse. This RM250 will be started and it will be ridden. Now, I need to go and explain myself to the missus and to the accountant, because I'm about to lose a lot of money on this investment in this video. So the Suzuki here has been left untouched by us since we did our first video a few months ago. Obviously, we've been trying to make our minds up on what to do with the machine, and the decision has been made now. We are going to ride it, we are going to take it to the track. But before we do that, before we go anywhere near a track, before we even try and start it, we need to give the bike a full recommission. Obviously, it's been sat with us for a few months, and for years before we came into ownership of it, it's been sat there in a garage collecting dust, really. So we need to go through the full bike and give it a full recommission. I also want to preserve the machine as much as possible, so I'm going to show you how we're going to try and do that in this video. So let's get cracking. So this is obviously a massive project for us and a big gamble for me, and I wouldn't have been confident to do it without the support of our sponsors, Putoline. Not only do they give me the confidence to pull the trigger on projects like this, but they also supply us with all of the oils and lubricants that we need to keep our bikes running, keep our bikes healthy, and recommission things like this RM250. So the recommission process started nice and easy. The first job on our list was to drain the old gearbox oil, which has been sat in the bike for 18 years. But to be fair, the old stuff looked pretty good when it came out.
It's clean though, that's like nothing.
Next up in order to preserve as many original parts as possible, we decided to change out the original Suzuki clutch cover for an aftermarket one. We went for a Boyson one here that you can see us fitting. This was a nice, quick and easy change, and it just prevents me from scuffing up the original parts, and I can put them back on to keep the bike looking sweet. After that was done, we could then go and put some fresh gearbox oil in. We're using Putoline's finest 10W40 oil here. As I'm sure you guys can imagine, this bike was an absolute dream to work on. It's an old two-stroke, but it's completely fresh, and it really took Dad down memory lane. So as well as the clutch cover, we also changed out the ignition cover, again to try and preserve as many original Suzuki items as we can. And again here, we've gone with the Boyson ignition cover. The next item on our to-do list was to take out the old brake fluid and get some fresh brake fluid in there, front and back. The fluid that came out of the front was completely clean and probably would have been fine to leave in there, but we put some fresh stuff in there anyway, just to be safe. The story was a little different on the rear, however. The fluid that came out was a bit degraded and did look 18 years old, so it's just as well that we decided to replace the old stuff with Putoline's Ultimate Racing brake fluid. Next, we took off the rad shrouds, the seat and the tank. We won't actually be replacing the tank, we'll be using the original on the bike, but we do have a graphics kit that we can put on the exposed plastic on the tank to try and protect that as much as possible. Now that the tank was off, we had easy access to the spark plug, and we took that out and lubricated the rings and the barrel with a fuel and oil mix just to be on the safe side before we start this bike up. As you guys know, this bike is 18 years old, so that means that the coolant is 18 years old as well. We decided to replace that with some fresh coolant. And of course, I wanted to preserve the original Suzuki plastics, so all of the bodywork got swapped out for aftermarket plastics. The original plastics got bagged up for safe keeping. Hopefully, this is what I'm telling myself, the missus and the accountant. This will help preserve some of the value of this bike. So once that job was done and the final plastics were bagged and ready to go into storage, we took a look at the air filter. The original air filter didn't look too bad, but when you touched it, it did disintegrate. So we replaced that with a new one, freshly oiled, of course. The seat went back on. We will be replacing this original seat with an aftermarket one, but that hasn't arrived yet. And then the final job of the day for this part of the recommission and preservation process was to slap on a spare set of graphics onto these aftermarket plastics. And of course, the finishing touch was to add some custom number boards onto the RM250. But this isn't quite the end of the recommission process. We've got a couple more jobs to do before we kickstart this thing into life. So we've come to the Hardcore Racing workshop today as part of our recommission mission for the old Suzuki RM250. You guys know we want to preserve as much of this bike as possible before we hit the track, so we're going to change some bits around today. Roland's going to come in and work his magic, so let's get cracking.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, obviously we've got the fuel tank off, we're going to get the subframe off, get the carburettor out, make sure there's nothing too horrible and grimy and manky in there, stale fuel and so forth. Yeah, and then just jet the carburettor roughly correctly, and then put the exhaust pipe on. But for now I've just got to get the science off, because I'm going to take the subframe off, so I might as well make it easy and do this at the same time.
When was the last time you had an RM250 in here?
RM250? I can tell you it would have been 2007.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact it wasn't in here, it was in the old workshop, it's that old. Yeah, so this workshop has never had an RM125 or RM250 in, period.
Until today?
Till now, and I'm loving it. It's right trip down memory lane, you know.
So Roland's got the carb out now, he's taken the bowl off to get access to the jets. How's it looking in there?
It's not too bad actually. It was a bit gunky, what came out of it. It was a bit old and rotten, but it's actually not all crystallised, and that's where you've really got a problem. It is still very much as an oil and so forth. Dead. Yeah, so you probably wouldn't have done a lot of harm, but best got rid of.
Best practice, right?
Yeah, yeah, do the right thing. No regrets. No regrets, there's always a plan. Right, so it's got a 168 in there. We're going to change that up for a 178. I'm going to go down to a 45 Pilot. If I send this out with a customer who's going to race it, you know, if you're going to go run this bike in and so forth and use it on a hard pack circuit, bearing in mind the weather we've got at the moment, we've got like a 178 main in there, 45 Pilot, with you gun it max, I think we'll be about right with the jetted. We'll have to just see what the weather's like for Farley, and certainly if you're going to go into the sand, then that would be up to a 185, and in the winter you'd be on a 190. But for this time of year, basically run on hard pack, doing a bit of filming, not full anger, 178 will be fine.
So Roland's bolting the bike back together now, but we are going to remove and preserve the original exhaust system. So that's the front pipe coming off, the tailpipe is already off, as you can see. How long has that been in stock?
Well, this pipe,
and did you ever think you'd be actually fitting it to a brand new RM250?
it's actually not been in stock that long. Maybe we've probably sold 3 in the last couple of months, but never in my lifetime did I think I'd be fitting one to a brand new RM ever again. So yeah, it's a good day. Well, what else would I be fitting? So we're fitting a brand new HS exhaust for the 06 to 08 RM250 Suzuki.
Front and back?
Oh, full system. You wouldn't do anything else, would you?
So there we are, the HGS exhaust system is going on, and that looks properly trick if you ask me. So that just about wraps things up for our recommission mission and our preservation process. There's only one more job to do, and that's to see if this thing will fire into life. So it's time for the moment of truth, the moment we've all been waiting for since May this year. How easy will this bike be to start? Let's find out. So like I said, this is going to be the most expensive kickstart of my life. We're going to devalue this bike by quite a bit just by starting it up, and then we're going to go to the track soon, so let's give it a go. That was a lot easier than the other bikes that we've had on this channel. First kick, she started first kick. What a sweet machine. So what's next for the RM250? I'm gonna warm it up and then we will take it to the track. I will ride this bike and we will race it. Well, we might well race it. Sean has to earn the right to do that. And that's in a future video coming up soon. Sean is going to earn himself the right to race this machine at Farley Castle. What a bike, what a sound. That was a bit easier than the Wisella, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. In the next episode, we head to Doncaster Motor Park. It's time to take this 2006 RM250 for its first ever ride. Here, it's going to be a good one. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already to join me on my dream ride.